Bunch of plums. Plum season's over, but apple season is about to start. And then the only way to get the apples is to get under here and shake the whole tree. And then they fall. But so when I was a little kid, we grew up across the street in a log cabin. And then we moved over here when I was 12. It's an old tool shed my dad built like 40 years ago.
Is your dad a builder?
Kind of like me, sort of a builder by necessity. You know, if you want something, you just figure out how to build it. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I figured I'd make actually more of a house out here. So I bought this school bus and turned that into a whole little house, little apartment. So it was great because the seats weren't in here. There was a driver's seat, which I took out. But I built the table and the kitchen. And then, you know, I put a counter and built the bed and got this couch off of Craigslist. You know, I had to saw off part of the arm here to make it fit. But other than that, it's perfectly situated. So really, that's all I need. Got a nice big bed and a kitchen, dining room, living room, all in one. I kind of wanted a quick house that I could just throw together. Just got a little camp stove, and then I got this little sink off of Craigslist. Then just cut a hole in this big slab of redwood. And, you know, I cut this down and sanded it, made it all nice and stuff. And it's super easy because it just fits right on top of this pre-existing part of the bus.
You're hooked up?
Yeah, I'm hooked up to the water system. So the water comes, actually I've run it from the garden all the way around over here. And man, it works great.
Electricity as well?
No, I got solar, a tiny little solar system. And the solar panel, I just have one panel and one battery.
So this is off-grid?
Yeah, this is all solar. Because at night, all I have is these Christmas lights. It's all you really need at night is just these DC-powered Christmas lights. I got a DC-powered refrigerator. Yeah. It's like the cheapest model of solar DC refrigerator I could find. It was only like $100 or something. Actually, I turned it off at night because the battery isn't getting any more charge. Yeah. And that works fine. It's kind of like a cooler. It's cold up till nighttime and then it stays cold until the morning. And then I turn it back on again. I do have this propane heater in the winter that I use. Propane's not expensive and it never gets that cold out here really anyways.
So it's not really missing anything that a conventional house would have?
No, I never think so.
Toilet?
The woods? Mm-hmm. For anything major, you can go into the big house, into Mom's house. And my mom's getting older, so I do stuff, help her fix stuff in her house and things like that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, in some ways, this is like an accessory dwelling unit.
Yeah, it works out great. And I'm not into her hair. She's not telling me what's going on, but she knows I'm out here. In theory, it's a recreational vehicle storage here. It's not really a house. You don't have much storage here, but I never really need that much stuff. I just need a couple changes of clothes. I'm totally fine in small spaces. I grew up in a log cabin sharing a room with my two older brothers. I mean, you can look at this place here. This is about the size of a tiny little condo somewhere in San Francisco, where everything's clean and everything is the right height. Everything is all plumbed correctly. The electricity's never going to go out on you. Everything's just perfect. But I would just be bored and annoyed living in such a sterile environment. If things are a little dirty, that's no big deal, or things are a little off kilter, that's just normal for me. This is another big slab of redwood that I cut down and sanded it. And then when I was some tool I was using, and I got all these marks on the wood, and I thought, well, I could just plane that down and sand it off and make it all smooth, or I could add a bunch more marks. You know, if it's like a really smooth table and it's got one bad mark on it, then it looks bad. But if it has like 100 bad marks on it, then it looks like that's my style. So essentially I screwed up and marred the table, and then I just marred it a bunch more times. This is a big piece of oak. I like the natural roughness of everything. Growing up, my dad was always building stuff, so I was kind of used to this handmade things and things that were kind of broken, and then you'd put them together, and you put different things together that weren't necessarily supposed to be together. This was some firewood that I cut up, and then I thought it was so nice, I used it as a little cutting board instead. And also, we never really had any money, too, so you kind of had to make everything handmade. This deck I built out here was on top of, those are a bunch of old telephone poles underneath it I used for the support. This is a table I made in 3 minutes the other day. So I kind of needed a table, but I didn't want to like make a table. So I just had these scraps of wood sitting around, and I just put them on top of each other. You know, here's a chair and here's a table. There you go. You really just need a little bit of motivation and some time, and then you can figure everything else out yourself. Just trying stuff, you know. I'm used to things that don't always work right, and you know, once in a while you gotta fix the plumbing and climb under the bus, and that's okay too. Then I got the outdoor shower, which is really nice. Yes, it is lovely, I gotta say.
Cold?
Well, this is, no, because I have a propane water heater too. Just by living here, you know, you're not camping out. It's kind of advanced camping. You know, you're not in a house, but nor are you just sleeping on the ground. It's somewhere in between. Kind of that whole second world idea. It's not really the first world, nor is it really the third world. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, which I'm used to. I like that a lot. I've spent a lot of time in the developing world in South America and Central America and Asia, and seen how people live there and seen how people live here. And I'm kind of used to living somewhere in the middle there, where you're a little bit closer to nature, but you still have some amenities. You know, I got power tools and hot water, and I do like taking a nice long hot bath. Well, the bathtub is really simple. I just run a hose off of here. So I just switch this over from shower to hose, and then just fill up the tub like this, rather than having it wired in or plumbed in. I mean, then you can't ever move the tub because you got this plumbing all attached to it, because I might want to in the future move this somewhere different. The hose is real nice too, because at night when you got the hot water in here, you can, you know, lie in the tub and have this hot water all over you and kind of take a shower and a bath mixed together. And it's real simple too. I never have much money to do all this stuff with, so I just use what I've got.
And just seeing this bus makes me think of Into the Wild.
I used to live one valley over from where that guy died. He died in, I lived in Denali National Park, and he was like one valley over to the north where he died. My mom had said a couple times, don't you try to do that stuff that kid was doing. I used to rush around the world and big rock climber, and I'm too old for that now. I did that a little bit more when I was younger. But it gives you another perspective. Maybe as I get older now, I like to slow down a little bit. Now that I have the opportunity to make this little world happen, I get tremendous satisfaction out of that. I got tree collards, a bunch of different herbs, oregano, thyme, etc., chard, different kinds of salvias, There's 8 different dwarf apple trees. So I grafted all these apple trees together a few years back. We got a couple apple trees there, and they get so big. So the dwarfs will only get, 8 or 10 feet tall. So you can still have a bunch of plants around them. And they're easier to harvest too, because they don't get very tall. You can just grab them. This is what happens to asparagus if you just let it keep growing. A bunch of borage, which the insects really like, especially the bees. You can eat the flowers, which are kind of tasty in their flowery sort of way. That's a lot of stuff I do here. I try to have it all take care of itself. Got chamomile. This is a bunch of arugula that reseeded itself from last year. A lot of my kale and chard, I just let go to seed and fall over, and they'll just reseed themselves. And so after I built the garden, I was taking permaculture classes, and then I built this greenhouse, which at the moment, I gotta say, this is really neglected in here because I've been so busy doing other things. All the windows I found off of Craigslist. These are old sliding glass door panels for the roof. And then it's all on a mister system. Everything's on timers. The whole garden's all irrigated. 3 times a day, the misters go off. And waters everything.
Did you create that system?
I mean, it's a standard system that is used in greenhouses everywhere. But like most things around here, I just put my personal touch on it, which may or may not be totally professional, but it works. This is my newest building, which my gorgeous girlfriend Megan is lounging in. It's a solarium. After I built the greenhouse, I really liked hanging out in there because it gets all nice and warm. A lot of times here, it can be sunny but windy. The fog will come in, it's kind of cold, and you want to hang out outside, but you want to be protected too. So that's why I started building this, which is like a greenhouse for people. This is kind of like built like a clubhouse almost, like a little kid who built a clubhouse out in the woods, but I happen to be 45 years old.
And it hasn't fallen over yet.
Oh no, this is super strong. This ain't gonna move. And this is all made out of salvage material. This whole thing probably cost me maybe $200. Old stoplights. These were all different colored windows, but we painted them all blue to have a nice even look. This big slab here, this is an old telephone pole. Just a bunch of random wood I had kicking around. So I made an indoor beach. But we like hanging out at the beach. Who doesn't? So I wanted to make it sand so you could lie down and you have different views from different areas. Actually, I made these windows down really low so when you're lying in the sand, you can look out the window. I just kind of just threw things together and did a lot of things wrong, I suppose, but it all worked out. I'm trying to finish this earthen wall here, which is cob and cordwood. These are old fence posts that we're just kicking around here.
So why you put the fence posts in there?
A couple of reasons. One, it takes a while to build a cob wall, especially all alone. So this takes up like half of the space. It's easy just to cut the pieces of wood and stick them in there. I put nails all around all the wood so that it holds onto the cob better. My theory is that it'll make the wall stronger. And also, I really like just the images of the grain of the wood itself. And also, if you ever want to hang anything off of the cob wall, it's hard because it's just made out of cob. But if you have wood, you could sink a screw in there and make a coat hook or whatever you want to make. So yeah, these are these little windows I'm put in here. So when you're lying in the indoor beach, you can look out this way. And making this wall, this is all, we do this with our feet. That's how you mix the cob. You take the soil from here, right next to the wall, mix it with some straw and some sand, and then you stomp it out put some water in there, stomp it around on the tarp, and then slap it on here and make a solid wall.
I learned how to build with cob for the first time.
And are you thinking it's pretty easy, or?
It's not easy at all, but it's fun. It's that thing of getting your feet and your hands and everything connected with the earth and the dirt. It feels good.
You know, most of the time I'm out here bare feet, really. It's
Yeah.
just this tactile feeling with your feet, with your hands. For 100,000 years of human beings' existence, we've been directly connected to the natural world, to dirt, rocks, trees. We've only had shoes for a few hundred years, really, at least good shoes. We've only had indoor plumbing for a short amount of time. We've only had, you know, a real solid house for not too long. So we, as human beings, in our evolutionary process, we should have physical contact with the earth and with sand and with dirt and with trees. And I don't know, our parents instilled in us a sense of not needing too much money and not having that as a basis for your self-identification. And we never had too much stuff anyways. And then spending so much time in the third world, you realize a lot of people there don't have much anything either. And they're masters at building stuff out of discarded material and building stuff out of whatever they have kicking around and fixing things. So I like to think I put all that together. Where you're sort of half in the third world and half in the first world, where you're connected with nature more, and you have to walk outside to go pee in the middle of the night and you get cold, and that's kind of nice actually. Or if it's raining, well, you get a little wet, big deal. And I think when you're more in touch with nature and you have fewer things that are crowding up your life, then in many ways you can just kind of roll with things a little bit easier. If things change, just like if it starts to rain, you just got to deal with it. Or if some changes in your life, you don't take it too seriously, you just deal with it, and it's no big deal. You're less insulated with all your stuff. You know, I don't have a TV out here, there's no computer, internet reception out here. You don't have all these filters between you and the real world, which for me just makes things easier. You don't have to think so much. You just get up, you think of what chores you got to do, and you go do them. Or if you don't want to do chores at all, you just hang out in the solarium and read a book.